Who paying for all of these vacations? Where are people? Because everybody's saying that they broke. And I'm wondering where all of these people are getting all of this money from in order to pay for these vacations. And no sooner than I had that thought, I seen a video drop on my timeline for CNBC as far as how people are paying for their lifestyle and their vacations. Check it out.
The average vacation cost for one person in the United States is a little under $2,000 per week.
More than a third of summer vacationers, 36%, are willing to take on debt this summer for their travels. The reason that's worrisome is because the average credit card charges over 20%, which is close to a record high. I don't want to tell people they can't have any fun, but this represents a lot of people taking on expensive debt. And this is the kind of thing that can linger.
Globally, 72% of millennials and 65% of Gen Zs said they plan on spending more on leisure travel in 2024.
You know, one thing I don't want to hear y'all ever say to me again is, stop telling me that y'all plan on paying off y'all entire credit card and that you only using it for points. It's the biggest lie that I hear people tell me. One of the biggest lies. Actually, it's the second biggest lie. The first biggest lie that I hear people tell me is, man, I'm going to leave her alone. Every day, y'all get on these coaching calls and I say, hey, fam, what you mean? You talking to a step baby mama and she cheating on you? Oh, yeah, but I'm so connected to the kid. All right, whatever. Let's move on. The second biggest lie that I hear y'all tell me is that, oh, no, I'm just going to get it and I'm going to pay off my balance in full every single month. I'm not going to pay no interest. Lies. Lies. Absolute positive lies. 100%. It's the biggest lie that I hear people tell me.
Compared to 2023. In the U.S., 47% of millennials and 42% of Gen Zs said they plan to take on debt to go on summer vacation.
It's insane.
There are so many compelling reasons why people choose to take on debt to have these vacations. Your kids are dreaming of going to Disney World, and there's no way the family could ever really swing it without going into debt. It could be a memory the family will have forever. Parents often can rationalize spending in these terms for their children.
Here's how Americans are paying for their summer vacations.
I better do a staycation.
Credit cards are the most common way people pay for their vacations. 62% of Americans surveyed said they put at least some of their trip on a credit card.
All of it.
Financial experts say that this can be a risky move if the borrower cannot pay the balance in time to not be charged interest.
The average credit card balance is already over $6,000, according to TransUnion. If you add $1,000 in vacation expenses to that, maybe it feels like a drop in the bucket, but it just makes it that much harder. That $6,200, if you make minimum payments at the average interest rate of 20.7%, you're going to be in debt for 18 years, and you're going to pay more than $9,000 in interest. So some of this is making...
Imagine paying $9,000 on interest and defaulting and having to file for bankruptcy on a $6,000 credit card payment. You're going to pay $15,000 for $6,000. That sounds like good math to me.
Bad situation worse.
The debt feels like this trade-off for a lot of people. It's ultimately the interchange between money for these lifelong memories and seminal experiences. And that's a sacrifice many are not only willing to make, but feel so strongly in doing so. Especially when debt is a weight many people are already accustomed to carrying.
Consumers are still out there using their credit cards. Their credit card balances are over $1 trillion now. We're seeing actual delinquencies on credit now rising. People are dipping into their savings. But bottom line is that they're still spending.
Not all credit card users are paying interest. 43% of Americans said they used their credit cards to pay for their trips, but paid it off in full to avoid interest.
Cap.
This also comes with the perk of accumulating rewards points.
Use those rewards points and miles. Put those to use.
Let me tell you something, bro. This is my opinion. And this is, I'm going to tell well over 2,000 of y'all that's listening to me right now. This is my personal opinion. I think that there's going to be a massive correction, and I think that it's going to be worse than 2008. I don't know when. I don't know if it happens within the next year, 2 years. I don't know if it happens within the next 5 years. I definitely think it's going to happen within the next 8 years, 8 to 10 years. And I'm preparing for it. within the next 8 to 10 years, and this is just my personal opinion, I think that there's going to be a massive, and when I say massive, massive correction. All right. Number one, on a very basic level, the only people that are going to be successful, or the only people that's going to be able to survive this gnashing of teeth, are going to be people that are not under duress or depending on the system in order for them to survive. That's number one. All right. And I hate to say this because I've believed this for a long time, and this is a conversation that I usually have with my bag chasers. It's going to be three types of people in a situation. For the overwhelming majority, and I think that over 90% of people, they're going to be suffering. And I think it's going to be worse in 2008 because you can't continue to have this pyramid scheme and this house of cards being built up on nothing. Our currency is not even supported by anything except for our belief in it. And so as soon as that belief goes away, because it's not backed by nothing. It used to be backed by precious metals in our U.S. Treasury. Now it's backed by our belief in it. And so from a worldwide perspective, unfortunately, also on top of that, as the United States goes, the rest of the world goes. And so as long as you have this thing being built up on a house of cards, all you need is for one thing to be kicked out from under it. And that's why they keep trying to prop up the economy. They keep trying to sell y'all on jobs, but they're not focusing on the national debt. They keep trying to tell y'all on inflation, but they're not really telling y'all why we have inflation in the first place. They keep trying to bring in a slave culture, but that's just because don't nobody want to continue to do the same jobs over and over again. And so what I believe is going to happen is that there's going to be a massive, and when I say massive, I believe it's going to be worse than 2008. And the only way that you can prepare yourself for it is the second way, right? Is that A, you have to become less dependent on cash. One of the things that we've been taught is the amount of money that you make is the thing that then substantiates whether or not you have any value. So when you hear these women or you hear these conversations and they say, well, what they used to say it, I want a man that makes six figures. Or I want a man that make more than $100,000 a year. Or you got to do this. You got to do this. Or you got to be a boss chick. Or you got to be that. All y'all doing is aligning your lifestyle with whatever the amount of money that you make, but it doesn't even mean anything because the value of the dollar continues to go down. So whereas it used to be a big deal for y'all to make $100,000 a year, $100,000 a year now feel like 50. It feels like 50. And I warned y'all of this 2 to 3 years ago. It feels like 50. Most people that make $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. That's a fact. And of course, I know that a lot of it is lifestyle choices and it's the choice that you make and what you decide to do with your money. But I'm trying to tell you, the minute that you stop valuing cash is the minute that you start freeing yourself from the woes of how people are living their lives. Well, what do you mean by cash, Anton? Well, what I mean is that the only way that you can survive a correction is by continuing to invest in assets. The reason that assets are important is because when the value of the dollar continues to go down, inflation continues to go up. So whereas the dollar doesn't necessarily validate the fact that you can live the same lifestyle because the dollar doesn't stretch as far anymore. And, if you need a basic refresher on inflation, then we can dig into that later. But my point is that the less valuable the dollar becomes or currency becomes, which is one of the reasons why we're trying to move digital, which we having a hard time doing it, the higher value your assets become. So for example, I decide to invest in real estate, right? And the one thing that I know for sure is that no matter what, people are going to need a place to stay. The less valuable your currency becomes, the more valuable the assets that you have are. And so the only people that can then survive is the ones that keep up with the rate of inflation or beat the rate of inflation. On top of that, they continue to offer something that people need. Because if you then start to become interdependent on the government, or you start to become interdependent on companies, or you start to become interdependent on other people in order to feed yourself, and there's nothing there for them to give you, such as what happened in 2008, then that's when you start seeing the gnashing of the teeth. You start seeing more national debt continue to go up because they got to prop up the economy. Some businesses that we have is too big to fail, like banks, because that's basically the whole value of the American system now, because we don't actually make anything inside the United States of America anymore. And so the point that I'm telling all of y'all is that if you don't start making different lifestyle choices, if everything you do is based off of how you feel, I gotta have a vacation, I'm tired of working. Instead of leveraging the opportunities that you have right now in order to put yourself in a better position. You know why I'm building a compound, honestly? Is because I see this happening and I see this coming within the next 10 years to where basically I'll have guest houses, I'll have compounds, I've been buying up land, I've been building up houses and all of this stuff. And one of the reasons why I'm building a compound is because I want to have a place for my family to go to, and not just my family, my immediate family, but also my extended family to go to, just in case they're having trouble. They'll always have a shelter, a place over their head. That's the honest to God truth. It's the honest to God truth. My lifestyle have always been, as far as my living expenses and the square footage that I need to live, has always been based off of quality, not quantity. So I don't need a huge house, but I see it. And I always need a place for my people to go. And I'm going to have to make the decision that a lot of other people are overlooking because they so focused on having a good time instead of being focused on preparing. There's always feast and famine. It's always feast and famine. You know what? That's true, R-Dub. That is absolutely true. I just look up on the screen and I'm like, what in the world is going on here? Let me move past this scene real quick.
But it doesn't make sense to...
All right. It's always feast and famine. Always. When there's good times, it's biblical. You have to start preparing, and it doesn't mean that you can't live a good life, but you don't have to blow everything. And so when you're feasting, you have to make sure that you're investing and you're putting up the type of money that's going to also be able to sustain you and making the right decisions that's going to sustain you when you have famine. I don't know any time in history during people's lifetimes to where they did not have famine at the same time that they had feasting at some point. And it's always the famine lasts much longer than the feasting. All I'm telling y'all is that it's going to be bad out here. I believe it. I believe that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And we can't keep going in this direction without at some point having a correction. And that comes with everything. That comes with the stock market. I've been telling y'all, and I'm going to have a deeper conversation with y'all on Stock Club this week when we rock out. I've been telling y'all on Stock Club that we take profits. We still remain invested. We still dollar cost average, but we take out our profits when we hit. When we hit for that 40% jump, I took a huge amount of profits out of that. That's the second time that I didn't capitalize off of a bump in that price. We take profits and then we start to continue the dollar cost average and the things that we actually care about, and we run it up. We absolutely run it up. So let me see if there's anything else to mine out of this thing.
Pay 20% interest just to get 2 or 3 or 4% cash back or airline miles.
In order to avoid interest while still having more time to pay off the credit card balance, some vacationers choose to open a new credit card that provides them with 0% interest for a set period of time.
The risk here is that once the term expires, the rate goes way up.
And make sure that y'all for all of the 2,000 plus people that's watching this right now, right this very second, I need y'all to do two things. I want y'all to make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. Some people are saying that they're not getting notifications that I'm live and that they got to come and seek me out. I get it. I don't complain about it. It just is what it is. If y'all not subscribed, make sure you subscribe, and then make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, and then make sure that you turn on your notifications. Subscribe right now. Right now. Hit the button. Hit the subscribe button. Oh, shout out to everybody that got me past $300,000 subscribers on the Anton Daniels channel over the weekend. I appreciate y'all. Try not to make too much of a big deal about it. So make sure y'all do that. And for those of y'all that's been waiting to join the Bag Chasers, the best day of the month to join the Bag Chasers is the beginning of the month. Make sure that you tap into the Patreon. The link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let's get into it.
Another option vacationers are considering is taking out a loan for their trip. 5% of vacationers plan to take out a personal loan from a financial institution.
I'm not even going to watch the rest of this. This is stupid. Y'all taking out personal loans to go on vacation? Who are you trying to impress? Who are y'all trying to impress with taking out a personal loan to go on vacation? Who y'all trying to impress? Look, man, here's the truth. You don't have to go into a foreign country in order to be able to have fun. You don't have to go on vacation. You don't have to take a flight. That's something that's been preached to y'all. You do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. And I'm not telling you not to take a vacation, but I'm saying that you need to evaluate your personal goals and if it fits into it. It used to be the narrative is that white people plan for their vacation. So they were planning well over a year out. They had a vacation fund. They don't just wing it. They don't just show up to somewhere with no money. They plan it out and they actually stack it up and they say, okay, so we're going to take 2 or 3 places. We're going to take the family here. We're going to take the family there. A lot of people be wondering, how do y'all spend so much money on Disney World? Well, they put together a budget for that and then they plan a year ahead of time and they get their tickets at the right time when all of y'all is not traveling, not when everybody get their tax refunds, and then they make the adjustment. Y'all better start having some staycations. You better become a tourist in your own city. It's so many free things to do. You don't even have to spend money in order to have fun. The fun is in the people that go. The fun is in your sentiment. You can have fun doing anything. You can have fun doing anything. You don't have to spend money to have fun. Why do y'all think that y'all got to blow a bag in order to have fun? If you can't afford it, stop, bro. Stop. You're not ready. I always put a milestone on everything that I do. So I don't buy a car until I reach a certain milestone. I don't even buy a watch. That's my reward. So once I hit this financial goal or once I hit this thing, that's why my watches mean so much to me, is because it represents a time in my life where I accomplished certain things. I didn't buy my first Rolex until I hit a certain level in corporate America. You can't afford to go on vacation, family. Just because everybody else is doing it don't mean that you should. Trust me, you will appreciate it when you get older, when you're in a position of power. And I always say this, and I'm going to leave y'all with this. I always say this too, right? What you do when you're younger ultimately compounds what you become when you get older. So if you're making an initial investments and once you hit that number and you start to become incredibly successful, it's going to start to translate. Everything compounds over a period of time. Whatever decision that you made in your 20s is ultimately the thing that you're going to either reap or you're going to suffer from when you get in your 40s and 50s. I cannot tell you how many people, and I was telling Rita just yesterday before I came down here, I told Rita, I said, listen, man, I wish X person would just get their life together and start investing in themselves. Forget the vacations. Forget the cars. The cars is going to be there. They're not going to stop making sweet cars. I promise you. They're not going to run out of cars to sell you. They're not going to run out of jewelry. They're not going to run out of lifestyle. They're not going to... just sit down for 1 second. I wish this person would just invest in their future. I wish they would make sure that they put more money into their 401k. I wish this person would actually do this and do that. Man, they would be so much better off as a result of it. I be wishing for y'all to do the thing that's in your own best interest sometimes. I was just telling her yesterday, I said, man, I wish that they were smarter. I wish that they was wiser. All of this, blah, 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 blah. But all I can do is tell you. Let me read some of the super chats and then I'm going to get y'all up out of here because I love y'all. The name Joe says, for the collection plate. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you, big dog. Tris Kushranada says, AD, Room 9 should have... Room 9 should have a segment for the idiotic comments. Room 9 dropping a new video today, big dog. Spacer says, I'm pausing to just get past that. It's still hilarious. Man, we got to get that junk up off our screen. Maybe demons coming through the screen. Shout out to my girl, Molly, all up in her drink. She ain't even know it. Jay Ben says, ain't seen some folks outside since PPP loans. Yeah, because they was out there capping. And every year after April, everybody go broke all of a sudden. And then they start financing everything and getting their credit cards. I also want to give an acknowledgement to, give me a second. I just want to make sure that I acknowledge the Cash Apps because the people be supporting me on all different platforms. Mika Rambert. Thank you, Mika. Mika says, for graduating in June and passed my MP certification. Shout out to everybody that's winning and doing it great. I appreciate y'all and every supporter of the platform. Again, if you guys are not subscribed, make sure you do so. The best day to join the Patreon is the beginning of the month. And more information dropping on the Patreon today. And then we got Stock Club later on this week. Also,